Hi there, my name's Christine. I'm a demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I want to make this really cute, let's see what it's actually called. It's called a pop-up corner card. So this is one that I made with the Sunshine and Rainbows designer series paper and the beautiful rainbow dies and the cloud punch. And when you open it, it's a very ooh-ah kind of card. So I love this layout. I'll show you another one that I made after we make ours. So let's get started. So the first thing you need is your paper cutter. I'll give you dimensions as I go along. And if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments and I will follow up with whatever I've left out. I will put the dimensions as well in the comments. So my main color is going to be, my goodness, I should have taken these out sooner. Night of Navy cardstock is going to be our card base. And our card base for this card is 4.25 by 11. So I'm just using my paper cutter to cut that. And I'll do the scoring afterward. So first we'll cut and then we'll score. Then we need a lot of little bits for this card, I will say, but it does come together really nicely. So this piece, I'm using Balmy Blue, needs to be 8 by 8. So I'm taking out the kind of extension arm of my paper cutter, and I'm going to measure 8. Really helps if I line that up. All right, 8. by 8. All right, and I will leave that arm extended because we do have to use it one more time. So now I'm going to do my scoring of this piece. So we scored at the 4 mark on both sides. So I'm just lining that up and I'm using my scoring blade. So the nice thing, both great things about this trimmer is that it's got the scoring blade and the cutting blade all in one. And we're going to cut one of the squares off while we're at it. While we're here, might as well do everything we need to do. So I need to cut just one square out. So I'm using my cutting blade up to that score mark or the 4. And then I'll line this up at 4. Bring the cutting blade back up to the top and let's go down here. And that should be it. And we're good. So, don't need that piece. We will need a piece that is 4 1/8 by 1 1/8, and that is just because I want to add a little bit of a border behind my designer series paper. So this will all make sense in due time. That's too long. Did I say 4 1/8? Oh, that's the wrong piece. Okay, sorry. I'm complicating things. And we do need one more piece of blue, which I'll do right now since it's out. And this piece will be 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. And that'll be for the front of our card. Okay, so those are the blue pieces we need. Going back to our card base, we need to score it, which is why I had left that open. And my measurements are under here. So score 4 1/4. So I'm lining it up at the 4 1/4 mark, and with my scoring blade, I'm going up. Then 5 1/2. So that would be where you would normally score your card base if you were making a regular size card, which this will turn out to be a regular size card. And then 6 3/4. So 6 3/4 and score. So that is kind of our base parts. Now we do need some designer series paper. So for the front piece, we need a piece that is 4 by 4. So this is the Simply Marvelous paper, which is one of the free designer series papers that you can get until the 20th of February, which is coming up really soon. I can't believe Celebration's almost over. So I'm also cutting a piece that is, 1 by 4, also for the front. Okay, so we need those. Then we're going to move to the inside pieces. And I know there are a lot of pieces to this card, but it's a really fun card. It's worth it. So we don't need that. So I'm cutting these at 3 by 3. No, sorry, 3 by 3 3/4 by 3 3 3/4. Sorry. So everything's pretty square. And then we're going to do the same thing with this piece. And one difference with this piece, we're going to cut it on the diagonal as well. Now this is optional, but I find it works better. All right. So that's for the inside. And last but not least, we need a piece to write on. So this piece will also be 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. All right, so those are all the mechanics of this card. We'll put our cutting blade away, our cutting and scoring tool. And now we've got a whole mess of paper here. So let's start with the outside. So we're going to fold this along the middle score mark. Just going to get my bone folder here to burnish that. And then these other pieces, you don't really need to burnish them. I find they will do what they're supposed to do. I'm just folding them. There we go. So the first and easiest thing to do is I'm using tear tape, but use a really strong adhesive. And we're going to fold this closed. So it's like a book binding seam, I think they call it. And I love tear tape because it's really, really, really strong. This is not coming off. So once you've made one of these, it's really fun to adapt it to other products. You can really, it's a super versatile one. So this is the outside of our card. Now we're going to use this piece of cardstock, which is the Balmy Blue, is going to go there. So there's a lot of steps to this, but there's nothing complicated in it, which is why I like it. I love fun folds that my fun folds need to stand up so that they can be displayed, and they need to not be nearly as complicated as they look. So this piece, which is not the piece that I cut out here, it is a separate piece, is 4 by 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. So that's also going to go on the front. I cannot believe how quickly January and February are going. It's just madness because when it first started, I was like, oh, Celebration's going to be here for ages. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, it's the end of Celebration already. Well, it's not the end yet. We still have all of next week. We have until the 28th. So now we're going to put our yellow cardstocks down. So again, this is the Marvelous, Simply Marvelous. So it's got a marbled side, and then it's got like a granite look to the other side. I'm using the marbled side because I really like it. So this is the 1 inch by 4. I'm just centering all these pieces. I love the look of yellow with blue actually, and purple. So nice. All right, just trying to get these layers somewhat straight. There we go. So now we're going to decorate this beautiful card. And I have some die cut pieces here that I die cut with the layering diorama dies, which is these. So they're really fun. Non-traditional kind of. They came out in the annual catalog this past year. And I really like them. I didn't think I would, but I really do. Okay, so we are going to use the Awesome Otters stamp set. I have named our otter Sir Otterton III, and he is going to wish somebody a very happy birthday. I just have to decide. We'll have him stand this way. I love this little otter. He just makes me so happy. So the otter, Awesome Otters, is also a stamp set through Celebration. So if you spend $60, you can choose a stamp set or papers. And then at $120, there's a couple of other offerings that you can choose. And once Celebration is over on February 28th, these guys are gone. So if there's something you see that you really want, you got to get an order in. And prepaid paper pumpkin subscriptions of 3 months or longer qualify for Celebration items too. So that's something important to keep in mind, because Celebration paper pumpkin is so much fun. I am a big fan. If you're not familiar with paper pumpkin, it's our monthly paper crafting subscription. And so it's a really nice way. Every month you get a new stamp set. Most months it's to make cards, but sometimes it's something different. And yeah, it's really fun. You get everything you need in the box, so you don't actually need anything else. So if you're a newer crafter, it's a nice way to grow your collection. And you get a little ink spot every month too, a different one. So that's another nice thing about it. And I said we'd make a birthday card, so we will. I just realized I did not take out any embellishments. That might have to change. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. See these black marks? That's called a halo, and I try to avoid those at all costs. So that's what happens when you press too hard on your stamp, that you get ink kind of on the outside, and then you smoosh it on your paper, and you can get halos that way. So I try to avoid them. All right, so that is for the front. Let's do a little bit of coloring with our otters. I'm going to use my Stampin' Blends for the most part, actually completely for this. So I'm starting with my dark crumb cake. And I'm going to do the outside of his body with the dark. Stampin' Blends can be blended, as by their name, which is awesome. They come in a 2-pack with a dark shade and a light shade, usually of the same color, which allows you to do that blending. I'm being kind of quick on this guy because I have an aversion to very long videos. So I'm going in with my dark crumb cake. It's this shade, I think. I didn't even check. It is. Good, good. And you can see that I'm mostly outlining him. So these markers can bleed, so that's why a very light passes is what I'm doing here. And if you're concerned about bleeding and you want to be more heavy-handed, I recommend you use the StazOn ink, which is not water-based, and so it won't bleed the way this one would, which again is why I'm doing light passes. And then we will use the light crumb cake marker. So you can see a variation in tone. And I'm just gonna go over some areas where the light might hit Mr. Otterton with the light shade, and it's gonna lift a bit of that dark off, which is kind of fun. But I'm not going to do a whole lot of blending on this one. And then I'm using light smoky slate to do his little nose. And I'm going to leave his eyes as they are. Now we do have a party hat to do. And I did not pull out these colors ahead of time as I should have. So let's do that now. Do balmy blue and green. And we'll stop there. But what we're going to do that's really fun is we're going to use the Wink of Stella marker for this because it's a party hat. So I'm going to use my Wink of Stella pen as a paintbrush. So what I'm doing is I'm using my ink pads. I'm putting some ink on this block, my little tiny acrylic block here. And then I'm going to use my Wink of Stella brush. So Wink of Stella has a solution with some sparkles. So I'm just grabbing the ink off my block and painting. And I'm hoping, it just occurred to me that I hope you can see what I'm doing. Yes, you can. Okay. So what's really fun, and I don't think you'll be able to see it, but I'll try to bring this up to the camera. It's adding some sparkles to the ink as it's putting them down, just light shimmer kind of. And it's just really fun because party hats should be sparkly. So, and then to clean it, I'm just going on to my scrap, and that's all of that. The ink is gone. So there is our little party hat. Always store your Wink of Stella up, right side up. I keep it in a bucket of other tools. That way it keeps the solution at the bottom instead of oozing out the top, because oozing out the top is never good. Okay, we're going to need a sentiment. So I'm just going to cut this up. I'm going to keep it in one line for the time being, but I might slice that up a bit because it's fun. And then we'll cut up our party hat. This would be a really fun card for, well, I'm making it kind of neutral, like good for boys or girls. And it would be fun for a friend who's young at heart or a young friend. And it seems like the birthdays are just coming fast and furious these days. So always good to have a few extra birthday cards on hand. And this style of card does fold flat enough to go in the post, which is nice. I'm not a big fan of fussy cutting, but here we are. Almost done. That's what they call using your scissors to cut things out, is fussy cutting, I think, because it's fussy. All right, so that's that. So let's finish decorating the front and then we'll move to the inside. So I'm just gonna put this piece as so, and I'll put that down with glue. And our little friend needs his party hat. So I just want to use the fine point of the glue. Ooh, I was going to use a little bit, but a lot came out. So let's clean that up. I'm just using a scrap paper to remove some of the glue glop because I don't want glue everywhere. Yeah, we'll have it flying off his head because it's more fun. And I am going to cut this up because I did not do a good job of making a straight cut, and it's going to bother me. So a nice way around that is just to cut up your words. So it's birthday time. There we go. So when I'm doing, when I've cut up words like this, they're a little bit small and finicky, so I try to do them so that I'm going to grab them and they're right side up, and I put them down in order, then I'm going to be picking them up. So for this one, and then I'm hoping to get a tiny bit of glue out of this and not a ton. Yay. So I'm arranging from the bottom up because that is the order in which I have these down. And I'm just going to go across the top. And they don't have to be straight. It's all just fun, right? So that's a super cute card just as it is, without the extra piece that we're about to put in. So let's move on to that extra piece because it's awesome. Okay. So I'm going to fold these pieces in now and just burnish those score marks with my bone folder. Okay, and the first time I made this card, I took a bit, so it's going to be this way. So you've got to put your pieces right side up here and right side up here. All right, so this white piece is going to go over here. And I haven't decided if I'm stamping this piece or not. Yes, I am stamping this piece. That's right. I usually do my stamping before I do my gluing, but not this time. Let's do that now, though. We are going to use the Happiest of Birthday stamp set. That's in the annual catalog and one of my favorite birthday stamp sets. Especially the stamp that says, happy a little bit late birthday. So I'm good at being a little bit late. It's not intentional. I'm just a little disorganized at times. All right, so we're going to use Balmy Blue for this. It's your day, enjoy it. I love that stamp. And then we are going to do this panel. We'll just put that down. Oh, I forgot a step in this. You know what? I forgot one score mark. I'm looking at this. I'm like, there's something missing. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so one score mark that I'm missing to this piece is we need to make a diagonal score line. So this kind of works out well because it's the piece that I haven't glued anything to yet, which is good. So I'm lining up my corners and I'm using my scoring blade to score. And there we go. Now we're really done with that. All right, so before I make my fold, I'm gonna glue. So that's why I cut these pieces in half, is so that I can put them on either side of that score mark. And it's just gonna make the whole thing fold nicer. The first time I made this card, I did not do that. And I don't know if it was a gluing error, but it just buckles a bit when I fold it and it bothers me. But by cutting the paper, there's nothing resisting against that center fold. I love how this looks like swirling pools, this paper. All right, got that down. Now I want to bring in more otters because they're adorable. So let's do that. So we've got our swimming otter, who I just love. So I'm using Memento ink again to ink him up. So these are more of the diorama dies that I have cut out. I want to try to get them all in. He worked earlier. Oh, perfect. So we have our little guy, and then there's one more. I figure I might as well use them all because they're so cute. And actually there's one more sentiment that I was hoping to be able to use, and we'll see if it works or not. We're going to use every single stamp in this one. So this sentiment says, you are, no, it says, yes, it does. You are utterly awesome. So I'm just grabbing another scrap. And if it fits, we'll use that. And if not, no harm done. All right. So we're going to do some more coloring. I think this is my favorite stamp in the set, this little guy floating on his back with his little fishy. I'll be curious to know what the highest, not selling, but the items that people chose as their celebration gifts the most. I have a feeling that it's going to be this little guy. And there's also the, well, the Marvelous paper is gorgeous, but there's also the Sunshine and Rainbows paper, which I know has been very popular. There we go. Now let's do his belly. We're going to do the fishy the way we did the hat too, because it's a really fun technique. go. Oops. And his little nose. And our little fishy. I'm going to do our little fishy in Calypso Coral. And grab our little brush. So the more ink you pick up, the more intense the color. So I'm kind of intentionally letting it fade out there by the tail. And the head. There we go. And I'll clean off my blocks later, but it's just regular ink, so no big deal. So I want this little guy to be right side up. So we're gonna put him this way. And I'm just gonna use regular glue for that. So that's the thing, because this card gets folded shut, I'm not putting a lot of layers to it because it's gonna be quite thick. So I'm not using dimensionals. You could use some on the front. And I am going to use that Utterly Awesome sentiment. I have so many scraps on my desk. It's kind of funny. So we'll just put glue on that as well. Where'd my other glue go? Oh. I'm not sure which is which now. Oh, this is the one that's supposed to be upside down, so we'll use the other one. I keep one glue right side up and one glue upside down so that I don't have to wait for the glue to travel from one end of the tube to the other. Just a little habit I've picked up. I love that. You are utterly awesome. And last but not least, we're going to do our little otter that's popping out of the water. And this little guy, I'm going to keep him a little, he's going to be kind of wet because he's popping out of the water, but I'm going to try to blend that a bit better. There we go. Let's see if I can do it really quickly on camera. So by going over the darks, I'm kind of diluting that dark a little bit. So the key is just to be really careful when you're getting close to those outside lines so that you don't get too much ink on top of the black ink, because then that's when you'll get the color kind of bleeding. And I'll just pull in my balmy blue markers here. And this one is in the process of drying out on me, as happens over time. They last a fairly long time though, and I have had some customers whose markers have dried out sooner than they should. And I've reached out to Stampin' Up! And they've been amazing at replacing them. So if that does happen to you, please let me know. And I'll help you out if I can. So water is generally not straight up. So I'm kind of playing with my lines here to make that obvious that we're not just going to have smooth water. We've got some waves going on. And again, a little bit more of the Stella because I love it. There we go. I never did bring that up. Will it pick it up? It's not very visible here. What about on our fishy? What about on our hat? I think the hat is where I got the most. I don't know if you can see any shimmer. Oh, sorry, I nudged the camera there. I don't know if you can see some shimmer action. It looks nicer in person. And we're going to put this little guy here. And then we will finish our folding and assembly. All right, so now we're going to fold this in half. And that's what's going to allow us to fold our card. And then that goes that way, and this goes this way. Okay, so this is the part, this is the only really more complicated part. So we are going to add ink to a 1/2 at a time. And I'm using my liquid ink glue, my liquid glue on purpose here, because I want to be able to move things around if I need to. Before I do that, I'm going to make sure, so it's your day, so that we want it in this direction. Check that first. Okay, and then this is the easier one to put down, right? Because you can actually, well, you can see what you're doing. All right, now I'm going to put glue on the other side. I'm being generous with it, but I'm not being so generous that it's going to ooze out, because we don't want to glue our card shut. Okay, so now I'm closing it, but I'm going to open it and make sure that things aren't horribly out of whack, and they're not, so that's good. So I'm just pressing that down. Flip it over and press some more. Okay, here we go. So it's birthday time. And here we go. So the blue pieces, you can see that seam here, but they are glued. And then it can stand upright. And it's a beautiful display. So it's fun. So you could actually put like something else here. If you were really clever, you could put, like, I could have put this otter so that he's standing up, but I'm just really not sure how to do that. So I didn't want to try it on a video. So we've got the happy birthday one that I've showed you. Just so happy. Love, love, love that card. And then last but not least, this is actually the first one I attempted. I did this one in French with the new tulip dies. I love, love, love. And the new tulip DSP, the flowering tulips. I forget the exact name now. And then it opens up to some more tulips. So love it. And yeah, so this is the one where I didn't cut my paper on the inside, and I find it just picks up a little bit at the back there, and it's not really a big deal. It just bugs me. So that's when I started cutting them after that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's inspired you to try something new, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.